Okay, it's starting, and I'm going to start sharing my slides now. Okay, let's yes, hang on, it's a little weird. Okay, so remind me, I'm only sharing this one tab. So when I share my other stuff, when we do the demo, just remind me so I'm not just sharing nothing. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? I think I am sharing. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me go into presenter mode, and I'm sure Amelia will hop on. Oops, not sure. Present. All right, welcome everyone to the 12th meetup of Phoenix Crypto. Today we'll be talking about experimenting with DeFi DApps, also known as decentralized applications, using the Kovan Testnet. Really excited about this meetup. Even just like prepping for this and getting to play around with the dApps was super fun. And I didn't really realize the power of testnets also until I started researching this. And it's just a really fun way to play around with like fake crypto essentially. But we'll get into all of that later. Here's our agenda. And of course, as I said, lots of crypto memes that our lovely community members have been supplying in our Discord. So we'll just do a quick overview of Phoenix Crypto like we normally do. Then we'll get into the meat of the session, which is exploring DeFi dApps on the testnet. And as always, Q&A, so if you have any questions, you can just drop them in the chat, and Amelia will be monitoring that. And as we're going through the live demo as well, you can just ask them live as well. And then super excited with Jessica. She's one of our members, and she's also at DCL Tour Guide on Twitter. We'll be having an after party in Decentraland, which is like a virtual reality that's built on top of Ethereum. So there will be more details to that, and I'll send out a link, but essentially it's just like the metaverse, and we all just hang out, and Jessica can she's a tour guide, so she'll help us have fun with that as well. So I got a message from someone. Okay, Amelia's in the chat, so perfect. She'll be monitoring that. So yeah, again, welcome to Phoenix Crypto. If you haven't heard of us before, we are one of the chapters as part of the wider Codecademy chapter network. And our community is all about crypto. We love talking about it, sharing memes. It's structured in that we usually have 2 meetups a month, like meetups like this on Bevy, where we either host technical workshops, we interview crypto professionals, or just people who are really interested in the space. We've had like coffee and code focus sessions. We've had a meetup in Decentraland so far, which is what that screenshot is. It was super awesome. We had like a whole Phoenix Crypto happy hour in Decentraland that Jessica was our tour guide for. And she was kind enough to get this awesome screenshot or picture of us all together. So really excited to go there tonight. As always, or as I always plug, we got Discord. So Amelia, if you could share the link to joining our Discord in the chat, that would be great. That's where we have a lot of our crypto conversations in between meetups. She also put in a gas fee bot, and we've also got like a crypto price bot as well. So it's functional, as well as just being fun to hang out with crypto friends. So we're also on Twitter at Phoenix_crypto. We post educational content and also just updates on happenings with our chapter. And yeah, the link below is where you can actually sign up or RSVP to events. It's our chapter page on Codecademy. So you can check us out more there. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. So if any of you attended our event that we had with Adrian, it was all about NFTs and how to actually mint one live. So, that really jazzed us up about NFTs. So Phoenix Crypto decided to open our own OpenSea storefront. So OpenSea is just an NFT marketplace where you can list them, buy and sell them. And yeah, we have our own storefront now. So we'll be listing some NFTs there to raise some funds for the club and just to sort of show off the artwork that some of our members are doing. And along with that, we're actually doing a giveaway of our first NFT that we minted. So if anyone was at our last meetup, you will have seen this graphic that Amelia, our vice president, made. It was basically just an infographic of the upgrades to Ethereum 2.0. And I think it's really beautiful and it's just awesome. So we decided to mint it. And one of you, anyone attending this event now will be entered to win this. And we'll actually be announcing the winner at the end of this meetup. So stick around to the end. We assume you have a crypto address, so we'll just transfer it to your MetaMask or whichever public address you would like it to go to. So winners will be randomly chosen. So Amelia will be on that. So yeah, definitely stick around towards the end. And Amelia, I think I heard you. I think you're back on, which is great. So, oh, our chat is popping. Okay, cool. We're gonna go into. All right, so now we're gonna go into the actual event, which is experimenting with DeFi DApps on the Kovan Testnet. So before we get into testnets, I just wanted to cover what is a mainnet in case you haven't heard of the term before. But basically, it's just a live blockchain network that you use for any transactions that you're currently doing. So think of it as like the live Ethereum blockchain or the live Bitcoin blockchain. It's where the transactions are actually happening, they're actually going through. So that could include sending and receiving crypto, deploying a dApp, or on Ethereum, the smart contract execution layer. And another way I like to think of this is being on chain. So this is just the main blockchain where gas fees are being used or crypto is being exchanged. And I thought this definition here was really good. But yeah, just so you have a frame of reference for what a mainnet is. So then when you start thinking about testnets, it's kind of, it's like a sandbox for developing or playing within the blockchain space. So basically it's the blockchain that's actually used for testing. It's not the actual live one. If there's any tokens on the testnet, they don't have any real value. It's more just of an experimental network that developers use to test out their code. So for example, if you have a dApp or decentralized application that wants to run their code before actually deploying it live on the mainnet, they'll often test it out on the testnet just to make sure there's no bugs, just to simulate it to make sure that it works. And as I said, the coins don't have any value because this is sort of like a fake blockchain, but it still simulates what the actual Ethereum or Bitcoin blockchain is like. And one term that you'll see pop up frequently when you're looking at testnets is this term called faucet. And basically it just means, or it's the means of the test coins being distributed to your wallet. So they just call it the faucet, and imagine just fake coins being transferred to your MetaMask, and that's how it's distributed. And I actually made this meme here because I thought it was really funny. Like faucets just give you just a bunch of fake crypto. So like when I went to the faucet last night, I got like 2 or 3 ETH, no big deal. Like it was super cool, but compare that to actually, at least me, I'm only able to buy like 0.0002 worth of ETH on the mainnet. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I wanted to make a meme on that. And there's actually a lot of available testnets out there that you can play around with and experiment with. Today, we're just doing a deep dive on Kovan, just because that's the one that I've used the most. But there's a couple others. There's Rinkeby, Robston, Sokol, and Gurley. I think that's how you say it. And so if anyone was attending CoinDesk's Consensus 2021 conference, you might have noticed that their desk tokens that they were giving out, those were hosted on the Rinkeby testnet. And so that's why they kept saying that these tokens don't really have any value, is because they're not on a live mainnet. And one fun fact that I found when researching that is that all the testnets are named after metro stations or subway stations around the world. I think one of them had that naming convention, and so all of the rest of the testnets that followed are just named after metro stations. So Kovan's actually named after a station, and I believe it's Singapore, and a lot of the other ones are in Sweden and some of the other Scandinavian countries. So all these testnets simulate different Ethereum clients. Some can have multiple. And Ethereum client is just the actual Ethereum software that a node is running to connect to the Ethereum blockchain. So examples can include like Parity or Geth, or there's a couple of other ones. But it's essentially just the core blockchain infrastructure and what connects all these nodes together. So some advantages and disadvantages of testnets. We'll start with the good side. Vitalik's double thumbs up here. So it's free testing, right? So if you're developing something and you don't want to just push it out to the mainnet and have a bunch of bugs happen right away, you can just deploy it for free on the testnet and then sort of see what happens from there. So it allows you to identify bugs early with minimal cost associated with them because they don't really have real customers or real users on it yet. It's also really easy to use. We'll go into this during the demo, but testnets are just available on your basic MetaMask browser extension. So it's really easy to just connect with them. This is more on the consumer side if you just want to play around with some of the dApps like we're going to do, but it's just really easy to use it. And also stores much less data than a full blockchain node. So if you think of like a proof of work node has to download the entire history of the blockchain, testnet doesn't really have to do that since it's not the real blockchain. It just has a subset of fake transactions that are being pushed through it. So those are all good things. On the bad side, or the nay side, it's fake money. So, nothing's really truly at stake. So you can test your DApp and it looks great, but the money that's going through it isn't real. So you don't know how people who are staking or putting up their real tokens are actually going to interact with your DApp, since it's sort of just, as I said, like a sandbox. It doesn't take into account gas fees. So gas is essentially free. It doesn't really exist that much in the testnet. But, as you all know, Ethereum gas fees are super high. So gas fees might actually impact how your DApp runs on the mainnet. So if you don't really know how that's going to impact it on the testnet, then that's not very useful. Minimal network congestion. So again, can't fully simulate a real blockchain. Ethereum, has long transaction confirmation times at times. And again, the gas fee. So it's not fully, you can't really fully simulate your DApp. And there's also potential DDoS attacks that if proof of work is used on the testnet. So there's different consensus mechanisms depending on what testnet you use, but some of them use proof of work. And so if someone gets a bunch of fake crypto from the faucet and they just continually spam it at the network, which is what happened with Ropsten back in 2017, then that just slows it down. It's not really a real risk. It's just kind of annoying if you're trying to test out your DApp and there's a troll who's making, the confirmation time is really slow. So that's not great. But, testnets are, you got the good with the bad. So now we're going to do a quick deep dive on Kovan and what exactly this testnet is, what separates it out or differentiates it from the other testnets. So as I mentioned, the testnets have a consensus mechanism, and the one that Kovan has is called proof of authority, which I didn't really know was a consensus mechanism until I was researching this, but it's essentially where the transactions are being validated and confirmed by just a subset of users, or I think they call them validators. So instead of having a bunch of decentralized independent nodes all working to validate transactions, you've only got a couple of parties or authorities who are confirming these transactions and adding them to the testnet blockchain. And for Kovan specifically, some of those include Etherscan, so the website that allows you to see all the transactions that are happening on Ethereum, Maker, as in the Maker Foundation, MakerDAO, Parity, which is an Ethereum client, Atores, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that are actually outlined on the Kovan white paper, which I recommend reading. It sort of lays out the problems that were in the proof of work system with Ropsten Testnet and how they're making it better. So just recommend reading that. The Kovan Testnet is compatible with the Parity Ethereum client, which makes sense. Since Parity is one of the proof of authorities on the testnet. And it's also, it's pretty stable and it's more secure than Ropsten just because of its consensus mechanism. And I thought this quote was really good. I actually pulled it from the white paper, but it says, so the Kovan testnet relies on trusted validators to ensure that valid transactions are added to blocks, processed and executed by the EVM faithfully. So that's what, these parties like Etherscan and Maker are. They're considered trusted validators. So you're not really going to have those troll attacks on Kovan, which is a good thing. I'm going to check the chat real quick just to make sure people can, if any questions. All right, perfect. Oh, okay. So now we're going to get to the live demo. And this is a time really to ask questions. And Amelia, if my audio cuts out or you can't see what I'm looking at, please just let me know. And one thing to note before we get into this, sometimes the testnets can be a little finicky sometimes. Like I was trying so hard last night to connect to Compound on the Kovan testnet and it just wasn't having it. So sometimes it takes a while for the transactions to confirm. Or like sometimes the faucet might be a little iffy as well. So just, take it with a grain of salt. It usually works out. Like for Aave and Oasis, I had great experiences, but sometimes it just doesn't, but that's okay. So this is our layout for the demo. I'm going to get some ETH from the faucet, show you guys how to do that. And this also assumes that everyone has MetaMask installed already and like has it set up and knows how to use it. So we're just going to jump right into that. And then, the dApps we're going to look at are Aave, Oasis, which is made by MakerDAO, Uniswap. And honestly, I don't think we're going to go through Compound because as I was using it, I realized that it just has a really bad UI, in my opinion, at least. And like the testnet wasn't working. And it's essentially the same thing as Aave. I just don't think it's as good. So yeah, we're not going to do compounds. I'm sorry, guys, if you're big compound fans. And just one other thing, there's no KYC or know your customer requirements on any of these. These dApps are truly decentralized. You don't have to give up your keys to like Aave or something. So that's why I really like them. Your money is, or your crypto is truly in your hands with this. So, okay, with this,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, that's
fine. Okay, perfect. So I think I have to stop. I'm going to stop sharing this.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go to the faucet. All right. Let me get this sharing up again. I think I can just share. Okay, we're going to go back to this real quick. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to cover is faucets. How do you actually get test ether? Or on the Kovan network, it's called Kovan Ether. So KETH or Keith, I guess. We're going to show you how to actually get that and add it to your MetaMask wallet on the Kovan Testnet. And you can actually request this fake money once every 24 hours. So if you just go to that website there, it's going to bring you to this tab right here. So it's a very simplistic looking website. It's just faucet.kovan.network. And they do require some sort of authentication with it. They use GitHub just so you can't download like 100,000 KETH or something and then spam the network. So just make sure you have GitHub so you can actually get it. So my MetaMask, I guess plugin is what it's called, or extension is here. So you can see, this is actually really cool. So if you haven't noticed before, if you go to the very top of your MetaMask, it actually shows you all the different networks you can connect to. So the first one is Ethereum mainnet. That's what it's normally connected to if you're actually doing real transactions. But there's a whole host of other test networks like Robston, Kovan, Rinkeby, all the ones we talked about. So just make sure if you're following along that you just click the Kovan Testnet. And so as you can see here, I've got a lot of ETH, but not really because it's fake ETH. I've got a lot of DAI and a
We're
DAI.
not actually seeing your the DAI. We're not actually seeing
you can't see the MetaMask. Oh man, that's okay. I think because I don't know. You probably can't see extensions on it then. I'm wondering. I might just start sharing my entire screen then. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. Can you see it now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We see it.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So as I said before, if you click at the top, these are all the networks. Ethereum mainnet's at the top, and then we're just going to click Kovan here. You can also name your accounts, which I didn't know you can do that. So that's my nickname there. And this is where all your testnet tokens or your KETH, your Kovan DAI, this is where all of it lives. So, I feel pretty rich when I look at this, but then I go to like my real wallet and I'm like, oh, sad, but that's okay. So once you can log in with GitHub, hopefully, and then I'm already logged in. So it just asks for your Kovan address. So make sure you're just connected to the Kovan testnet at all times so you don't accidentally use your real Ethereum or real crypto. So I'm just going to copy this address, send me KETH. Oh, I did it yesterday, so that's why. So yeah, there's a 24-hour limit, but if you haven't reached your limit for the day, then you can get your KETH. So there we go. That's how you use the testnet and how to actually get crypto through the faucet. Oh, and here's just the screenshots. And this presentation, which we share in the Discord, has all the screenshots for this as well. So if you have to drop off or you miss something, you can just go to here. All right, so the first dApp that we're going to look at is Aave, which is really cool. I think Aave means ghost in Finnish. That's just like a really random fun fact. But it's a super, I guess, cute platform or cute logo at the very least. But it's essentially just right? Yeah, like I love their little ghost. But Aave is a lending and a borrowing platform. So let's just take it one piece at a time. So if you're a lender, that means you're depositing your crypto into the protocol or providing liquidity, and you earn interest on the money that you're putting into it. So essentially, you're just depositing crypto into Aave's liquidity or lending smart contract. Now, on the other side, if you're a borrower, you want to borrow some crypto and have it and then pay it back at some time in the future. So one concept that's really, really common in crypto is called over collateralization. So the idea here is that you deposit collateral, and collateral just means any asset. It could be ETH, it could be, a Maker token, it could be USDC. So you deposit that in order to unlock borrowing power. So if I deposited a certain amount of ETH, I can now borrow some other token. I could borrow DAI. And the whole idea of over collateralization is that you're depositing more collateral than what you're borrowing. So you're always in an over collateralized position. Now, that's kind of a weird concept. Like, it's nothing like the traditional world. Like, if I wanted to get a loan from a bank, there'd be this whole process, a lot of paperwork. Maybe if they didn't like me, then I wouldn't get the loan or something. But here, it's just, do you have enough collateral to put down? Yes. Okay, then you can have these tokens that you're borrowing. Again, it's non-custodial, which means it just runs completely on smart contracts, eliminating the middleman or any bias or discrimination that might happen in loans. It's really cool because a lot of these dApps, they'll have governance tokens. So the one for Aave is just called Aave. And we're not going to go too deep into this, but essentially they have this, you can actually stake your Aave governance token into this thing called the safety module, which is just, it's what it sounds like. It's just a safety net in case there's not enough liquidity in Aave, but we're not really going to go into that. I put a video here that explains more about Aave, but just important to know it's lending, so you can earn interest on the money you lent, and then borrowing, which is always in an over collateralized position. And if at any point you become under collateralized, so like the assets you put up become less than the tokens you're borrowing, then you're in danger of liquidation, which means your loan's going to be put up, some of your initial collateral is going to be taken, and you're going to have to pay a lot of penalties and fees on that. So always make sure you have a good, they call it health factor, and that your loan's in a good state. So now we're going to go to the actual testnet.aave.com. And I would just follow these links. Some of the dApps have their own direct links like testnet.aave, but some of them you just have to connect directly to the Kovan Testnet, and then the dApp will switch over to the testnet. So now that we're here, I'm just going to make sure I'm on Kovan Testnet because I don't want to spend my real Ethereum or my real crypto. And yeah, so this is what Aave looks like. They've got a couple of different tabs here. So markets, you can just see what assets are being borrowed, how much has been lent into the protocol for that particular asset. And I'm going to go over some quick terms. APY just means annual percentage yield. So that's essentially just the interest rate if you're blending crypto to earn interest. And then if you're borrowing, that's called annual percentage rate. So that's how much you're paying. You're paying us. It's like the cost of borrowing your money. So essentially just two sides of the same coin. Money isn't free. It costs money to use money. So there you go. And also you'll actually know you're connected to the Kovan testnet because you see these little Ks up here. That just means Kovan. So again, just like triple check that you're connected so you're not using your real money. All right, so the main tabs I'm going to call out here, my dashboard just shows any open positions you have, but the main ones when you're first starting are deposit and borrow. So again, deposit is just where you're putting your crypto into the protocol so that you can earn interest on it. And it syncs to your wallet, which is really cool. So if you just saw my wallet balances, they show up here.
Let's 120%? Like, how is that possible?
So that's a great point. So these numbers aren't real. We're on the testnet. So like, even if you look at like the market size for DAI, 8 trillion, that's not real. Like, this is the testnet. So like the numbers are kind of wonky. So don't take it at face value. Like if you're connected to the real mainnet, then it's going to be real numbers. But yeah, you're not getting 120 APY. That would be insane. And everyone would be depositing their, I guess that's year-end finance. Yeah, so great point, Amelia. Yeah, we're in fake money land, which is actually really fun to play around in. So so let's say I want to lend or put some amount of Ether into the protocol. Let me go back so you can see that. You just click into it, and then it asks you, okay, how much of your ETH would you like to deposit? Let's say I want to put in like 4 ETH or something, and then continue. And then it tells you your health factor. And again, your health factor just tells you like how, I guess, healthy your loan is, or it's more It applies more to if you're actually borrowing something, but if you're just lending, then you don't really have to worry about that since you're not borrowing against it yet, unless you choose to do that. So I'm going to deposit 4 ETH, which is apparently worth $10,000. I don't think that's true. And then you just have to go through and confirm your transactions on your wallet. Yeah, so it says no conversion rate available because gas isn't really like a real thing in the testnet. So I just go ahead and click confirm. And now the transaction's pending on the testnet. And you can actually, if you click Explorer here, you can go to Etherscan and it's pending, so it's not going to show it now, but it can actually show you your testnet transaction on Etherscan, which is pretty cool. So as I said, some of these testnets can be kind of finicky sometimes, so we're not going to wait around for all the stuff to confirm. I would just recommend you play with it yourself. So we're going to go over to borrow now. And again, as I said, for Aave, you have to first deposit collateral. So you have to deposit here in order to borrow something out of the protocol. So yeah, it shows you the potential assets you could borrow. It shows you there how much it costs to borrow them. So like it's not going to cost you 107% to borrow ETH. Again, this is just fake. So let me see if this transaction went through because then that will let me borrow. But even if not, you just choose the asset that you want to borrow. Let's say I want to borrow some DAI. And then you can choose how much you want to borrow. So based on how much I've deposited, it gives you how much you can borrow. So you're still in that over collateralized position. I want to borrow 1,000 DAI. And one thing I want to call is this health factor that you see at the bottom right here. So again, that's just how healthy this loan is. You always want to keep it above 1. If it's below 1, it's going to get liquidated, which is not good. You don't want your loan to get liquidated. You want to keep it within this green region. So I'm getting in like the yellow. So I'm going to go down to like 700. Oh, that's not that great either. How about just like 50? Yeah, so if I'm borrowing 50 DAI, but I can borrow up to 2,000, then my health factor is pretty good because I'm like super over collateralized now. So, which is a good thing. And they've got some other metrics up here that tell you, like, again, the interest rates. One cool thing about Aave is that you can choose if you want a stable borrowing rate or a variable borrowing rate. And it's one thing to know, if you're getting a stable rate, that's always going to be more expensive because you're assuming less risk. And variable just is a rate that moves with the market. So that could be really high one day, really low. So it just tends to be lower because you're assuming more risk. And there's just some other metrics like utilization rate. So for example, if I'm borrowing DAI, out of all the DAI that's been deposited by lenders, how much is actually being used to borrow? And in this case, it's a fake number, but like 82%. So now we're going to go to continue since my health factor is looking pretty good. Looks like I can't select stable. Usually you can if you're on the mainnet. So I'm going to go to variable. Let's see, continue. Borrow overview. There's my health factor. Borrow. Got to go to MetaMask again. And now that transaction is pending. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of Aave. They also, it's really cool. These dApps all interlock with each other. So like they have a swap function here, but they're just plugging into Uniswap. So you can swap some tokens that you have like for another token, and we'll go into Uniswap in a second. So we'll get to that later. You can also stake your governance token. So again, if you have Aave, you can stake it essentially in the protocol to ensure its long-term success. And in exchange, you get, it's called Stake Aave, but you can earn rewards on it. I don't want to go too deep into this. One other thing that I'll touch on real quick with depositing is that if you deposit, let's say Ether, you actually get another token sent to your wallet. I think it's called, it has an A in front, but it just represents your position. And you can actually use those tokens that are accruing interest, and you can put them in other protocols and earn even more interest on them, which is really cool. So if at any time you want to get, so if you want to take your loan out, you just have to burn off those like interest or A tokens, and then you get your principal back. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like saying, well, here's like the fake token. even if you're on the real, if you're on the real mainnet, you get a fake token as your interest.
I wouldn't call it a fake token. They're called A tokens for Aave, but they just represent your position, and they actually represent the interest that whatever you put into the protocol is earning. Okay. So it's a real token. So you can go and put that in like say, I don't know if you can put it in Compound, but if you could deposit that token and earn interest on that. And that's where, you know, a lot of people who either arbitrage or stuff, like they take advantage of all that.
Okay, so it's like another tradable token on top of your actual token.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same thing if you stake your Aave token, you get a stake Aave or STK Aave, which then you can then use as well. Excuse me, one other thing that's cool is that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask if you could then like take that stake Aave and then put it in like Compound, for instance.
I think you can. I really haven't looked too much into that, but I know that it's a real token that you can deploy on other dApps. It just depends if the dApp supports it. Like if Compound doesn't allow you to deposit stake Aave, then you can't. But some might. So yeah, that's a good question. Just one other quick thing on borrowing. You can actually repay your loan with collateral. That's a new feature of Aave. So again, you have to put down collateral. And before it was kind of annoying because you'd have to repay in whatever you took out. But if you deposited Ether, you'd have to like go to Coinbase or whatever, like exchange it for DAI and then use the DAI to pay off your position. But now you can actually pay off your collateral or pay off your loan with whatever collateral you put down, which just minimizes transaction fees and gas fees, which is always a good thing. So yeah, I think that's it for Aave. Just Aave, depositing, borrowing. Either you earn interest or you just have to have an over collateralized loan. That's sort of the nuts and bolts of this app. So with that, I'm going to take any questions. If there's any in the chat, or Amelia, if you have any.
No, I think I was answering as we were going on. So you could probably move on to the next one if you're ready.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Are they going to support under collateralized loans at any point? Like
that is okay. So not currently, but there are some dApps that are working on under collateralized loans. I have no idea how it's going to work though, because like that's how. I don't know, like that's how you're able to just have a self-sustaining protocol that's run on smart contracts. Like I don't know how they're going to guarantee that you're going to pay your loan back if you're under collateralized. So yes, it's being worked on, but like not with Aave and not with a lot of other established apps at the moment. But that would be interesting though. Yeah.
Yeah, and just for people who don't really like understand finance, like what is an example in the real world of an under collateralized loan and an over collateralized loan?
For under collateralized, that's pretty, I don't want to say simple, but like if you go, well, let's start with over collateralized. So say you want to get a loan from a bank. A lot of the times you put up an asset you already have, like your car, or like a mortgage is a great example. Like if you don't pay off your mortgage, then the bank can take your house. So if you don't pay off, you know, whatever loan you get for your business, and then the bank can take your car. So that's the concept of collateral in the real world. I don't know too much like over versus under. Like you'd have to look at the market value of the asset versus how much you're actually borrowing. But I think like there are some places, like I've seen those signs that are like free loans or like no collateral loans or something. So it's definitely a real thing. But the thing is that if it's under collateralized, I feel like you pay a lot more in interest rates or a lot more in like borrowing fees to take on. It's all about risk, right? So if there's more risk in the loan, then you have to pay more for it. And the lender expects more money since they're putting their money on the line. So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so if we have no other questions, I'm going to close out of this. And again, the screenshots are on the slide deck. So, whoops, sorry, I don't want to play that. Here's just a quick graphic that shows how it works again. We're going to go on. Oh, one thing I totally forgot to mention, Aave has its own Kovan faucet. So the other website that I showed was like the actual Kovan people, and you can get ETH from that faucet. But this Aave faucet, I think you can get a bunch of different assets. So I'm going to try to I want to see if this works. So if I want to get the Aave governance token, let's see. I hope that works because that would be awesome. All right, so it's pending. So yeah, if the Kovan faucet doesn't work, they can always just use this Aave faucet. It's been pretty successful for me. So Aave is just really awesome. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast with the I think it's the CTO maybe. Yeah. They have so many things coming as well into the app. It's pretty cool, and it's really user friendly, as you were saying.
Yeah, and I think it's great because I think it's going to get to the point where you don't have to deposit a lot of whatever crypto to make money. Because right now it doesn't really make sense to deposit like 0.001 worth of ETH because the gas fees are so high. So once the gas fees goes down, then it makes it easy for like someone like me to put in those low amounts and still get like some sort of interest. But right now it's like mostly economical if you're putting in like 5,000 USD or more into the protocol. Okay. So
yeah,
that's just something, just because gas is,
it's pretty much like for traders at this point, like not for a person who wants to like buy a car.
Exactly. Like they've got things like on Aave called flash loans where you can actually, I forgot to mention this, where you can borrow, and I think it doesn't have to be collateralized or it's under collateralized, but you have to repay it back within like the same transaction. So it's like super quick. So if you see that another DApp is giving you a better rate for DAI or something, then you can buy it on Aave and then like use it on some other DApp to get like a marginally higher return. So that's kind of a digression, but yeah, the people using these are just experienced traders. Definitely not something I'd recommend if you're not, like, if that's not what you do all the time.
Yeah, I think you need to like have some financial advice before you.
Oh, totally. Like that's why testnets are cool, because you can just play around. Like if you don't know too much about finance, then I wouldn't use this stuff just like right away because you're putting up your real money. But with testnets, you're not. It's just like a game almost. So. Okay, so the next DApp that we're going to cover is called Oasis, and it's made by MakerDAO, which there is the protocol behind the DAI stablecoin, if you've heard of that. And Oasis has a bunch of different parts. There's Oasis Trade, Oasis Save, and Oasis Borrow. But we're going to talk about Oasis Borrow because I think it's the most interesting, and also it's sort of the heart of the MakerDAO protocol. It's actually how you generate DAI. And there's also a link here that we're going to go to in a second. But basically, this is how you can mint your own DAI. So essentially what you do is you have some sort of collateral again, and you deposit it into what's called a maker vault, which is AKA just a smart contract. So you deposit some crypto into a smart contract, and then that smart contract is able to generate the DAI stablecoin from it. So it's super cool. Like that's how DAI is sort of, it's like spontaneous generation or something, but you're like putting in money to get some asset out of it. So then once you have this DAI, you can use it in other protocols, you can sell it, but you're still retaining your original collateral. So like a lot of people, they just don't want to like sell their ETH or something. So they're like, okay, let me lock it up in this vault, generate some DAI and use that, and I can earn interest at the same time. So it's a really great way to just like put your money away. Did you have something? Did you have a question, Amelia?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that DAI is pretty cool because most wallets and stuff let you earn interest on it.
Yeah, DAI is super cool. And like I have here the DAI savings rate. It was 0 for a while, and now it's only like 0.01%. But it's kind of like, I guess, like the bank account or like the stable bank account of crypto. Yeah, DAI is just a really cool, as an aside, it's just a really good on ramp, I guess, for like normal people getting into crypto, since it is pegged to the US dollar. Usually it's around $1. Sometimes it dips below or a little bit above, but yeah, and the interesting thing is that DAI is not actually backed by US dollars. Like there's not like Maker doesn't have a bunch of US dollars lying around. It's just sort of spontaneously generated like this, but it is still like tied or pegged to the US dollar.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'd also recommend reading the white paper. I was listening to this podcast with Chris Dixon, and he said that the three most important white papers in crypto were Bitcoin white paper, Ethereum white paper, and the Maker protocol white paper. And I think that's really telling, since every DApp seems to have a white paper. So I'd really actually read this one, because Maker was really, it was almost like the first DeFi. Maker kind of like started the DeFi ecosystem in crypto, so it's really important, I think. And then I just have some videos and links here, but we're gonna go right into actually seeing what it looks like. So this is the Oasis landing page. It's really cool. My testnet was being a little finicky earlier, so I'm sorry if this doesn't work. But yeah, we're gonna go to, if we're trying to open a vault in mint DAI, then we're gonna click open new vault. I'm just gonna check that I'm connected to the testnet. I am, cool. Open new vault. So, all right, like what collateral do I want to put in to spontaneously generate some DAI? Let's see, I've got, how much, let me see what's in my wallet right now. First, going to stick with ETH again. I don't think those transactions went there earlier, but that's okay. So we're just going to click Open Vault, and it tells you how much is like in your wallet. All right, so. Okay, so now we're going to configure the vault, and let's say I've got around 5 ETH, so I'm going to put, let's see, 5 ETH in this vault. And then we're going to click Generate DAI with this transaction. And I think you can specify how much DAI you actually want to generate. And again, we're back at the collateralization ratio. You want this to be over collateralized. So however much ETH you're putting in, I guess however much DAI you're generating, you don't want it to be more than however much ETH you're putting in, because you want this to be an over collateralized position. So based on, if I deposit 5 ETH, it says the max I can generate is 9,000 DAI, which is pretty similar to just 9,000 US dollars. So we're going to go below that just so my loan is safe, or my position is safe. So let's do 6,000. All right, cool. So my collateralization ratio is well above 100%. It's 228 in this fake testnet environment. And it's got the liquidation price here. So to my understanding, so it says the current ETH to USD price here is around 2K. But if the ETH to USD price were to go below this 1,800, then I would be in danger of liquidation. And I'd either have to deposit more ETH or take some DAI out so I can get this collateralization ratio back in balance. But generally, you just want it to be over 100% or whatever. I think the protocols specify what your collateralization ratio has to be, so it'll tell you if you're in danger of being liquidated. Actually, yeah, it tells you right here, minimum collateral ratio has to be 150%. So let's say I wanted to generate like 10,000 DAI. It wouldn't let me because 137% is less than this 150%. So we're going to go back to, I think it was 6,000. Stability fee, liquidation fees. I'm not too sure on stability fee, to be honest, but liquidation fee is that if your position does get liquidated, then you have to pay a penalty on that. And it's 13%, which is kind of a lot if you have a lot of ETH locked up in a vault. So that's just something to know. I've got hang on a second. Okay, yeah, so just explaining some of these terms at the bottom. Dust, I think, is really funny. It's like the minimum amount of DAI that must be generated. So like, let's say I only want to generate like $1. It's not going to let you do that just because the gas fees are too high. So it just doesn't make sense. So think of like little particles of dust. Like you can't just have a little bit of DAI being created. It just has to make sense considering, you know, the protocol, network congestion, what the fees are like, all that stuff. So I think, yep, all that explains. And then set up proxy. That's just how you actually like set up your vault. I was having issues on the testnet later, so I don't know if that will work, but it's just how you actually create your position. So I'm going to confirm. And then, yeah, usually there's like 6 steps, but I don't think it's going to get to all 6 today. So yeah, I know I keep saying like the testnet doesn't really work a lot, but as you can see, it's still good for actually getting into the DApp and even being like allowed to play around with it a little bit, even if it doesn't immediately confirm your transaction or something like that. So Oasis is cool. All right, any questions? Oh, wow.
I don't really.
Cool.
Don't really see many in here. I think I tried to answer them as they were coming up.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, if you go below, it just has more vault details. And I think once you actually open your position, you get a whole dashboard that just displays all the stats you need, like collateralization, what's the current price of ETH, how's your dust limit looking, like all that stuff. So it would look similar to this, I think. So yep, that's how DAI is made, which I just think is super cool that you can just generate a new coin based on what you're depositing. So that is Oasis. Personally, a huge fan of MakerDAO. They're just really cool. So,
I also heard that it's not Maker, but somebody else is using NFTs as like collateral for.
Really? Oh, that's super cool. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Or what?
I think it's like called NFT and like NiftyFi.
Oh, is it you? I think I know who you're talking about. You can collateral, even like if you go to a bank and you can pretty much, I don't know if you can put anything down as collateral, but think in like the olden days, people would just take whatever assets you had and to make sure you actually pay back your loan. So that's really awesome. I love that idea. If not, yeah, people need to start working on that. One other thing is Oasis Save that I mentioned. So if you generated DAI, Oasis lets you either put it into the DAI savings rate, you can put that DAI in Compound or Aave and then earn interest on it. So that goes back to what I was saying. So if you open up a vault on Maker, you get some DAI, you can actually put that, you can lend it into Aave and earn interest, earn A tokens on that. And you can use those A tokens to go and do something. So like if you actually have a really good investment strategy, then like using these dApps is pretty seamless since they all interconnect and you can use your tokens across ecosystems. So it says coming soon. So I don't think it's a feature yet, but it will be. So I think that's just a really awesome part of Oasis. All right, so we're running a little low on time, so I'm not going to go through Compound. I don't really like Compound, so we're going to go through Uniswap. Let me present this real quick. Yeah, so Uniswap, I'm sure you've heard of this one. Really cute unicorn logo, but essentially it's an automatic market maker or an AMM. So high level, it's just a way for you to swap tokens. So if I have ETH and I want DAI, I can put in ETH and then I can get DAI. And I don't think it's not to do with collateralization. You're like giving up one token to get another. And so that's what a swap is. You're just swapping two tokens out for one another. But when you swap these tokens, it's always in a pair. So if I go back to the example, if I'm swapping ETH for DAI, there's actually a liquidity pool underpinning that transaction of ETH to DAI. And I know that's kind of a weird concept, but like that's how the automated market maker is made. Uniswap is just made up of a bunch of different pools, and a pool is just two pairs of tokens that come together and they're collected in a smart contract. So one smart contract could be the ETH to DAI pool, one smart contract could be Maker QSDC, and so on and so forth. Like whatever tokens they support, there is a liquidity pool underpinning that. So that's how those swaps happen. The smart contract is just called, and then the tokens can get swapped. So you can also be a liquidity provider, or an LP as they call them, for Uniswap, and it's where you deposit those pairs of tokens into a liquidity pool. So I can deposit ETH and a corresponding amount of DAI into the ETH DAI liquidity pool. And I'm an LP, so that means I can earn interest. I get cool liquidity tokens that I can go and use elsewhere. So it's all just really about incentives. And so that's what an automated market maker, that's what it means. So if you want to swap your DAI with someone, you don't have to wait for someone who wants to get DAI from you. You can just trade it against this pool, and that's why it's automatic. There's a thing called an order book system, which is more traditional. Or if you put in an order for something, you have to wait for someone to accept it and at what price. But with an AMM, you can just trade instantly because there's already a pool underpinning it and the price automatically calibrates. So not to get too deep into it, but like if I take ETH out of the pool and I swap it for something else, then that means the pool has less ETH. So the price of ETH in that pool rises. So that's how it sort of stays balanced like that. And I know it's confusing. I provided a lot of resources, but that's just kind of the high level overview. This graphic kind of helps. So like on the left side, you have an LP. So they're inputting token A, token B, and they're getting LP shares, or they're getting those liquidity tokens. And so that's what's going into the pool of token A and token B, because that LP is depositing them in pairs essentially. And on the right side, you've got the trader who's like, okay, I have token A, but I want token B. So he inputs token A, he pays a 0.03% fee, and then he gets a token B sent to his wallet. And so all those two parties, the LPs and the traders, all they meet at the liquidity pool. So that's pretty cool. That rhymes. Okay, so now we're going to go, sorry, it's been a long day. We're going to go to Uniswap right now. And this one won't take that long because it's actually really easy to explain. Just make sure you're connected to the Kovan Testnet. And we are, so that's good. So yeah, it tells me how much ETH I have in my wallet. So let's see, I want to give up 0.05 ETH, and I can select whatever token I want. So again, this testnet's being finicky. So let's see how much Uniswap. Uni is the governance token for Uniswap. So in a world where gas fees weren't so high, if I gave up 0.05 ETH, I would get 0.04 Uni back. But since these are really small increments we're talking about, the gas would be too high. So that's why it says price impact too high. So it won't let me execute, but that's okay. If you run the mainnet, it would let you do that. And then usually we just have a button that says swap, and then the transaction's done. Your ETH is gone, you've got Uni. So that's pretty simple, actually. That's all there really is to it. Now, if you're a liquidity provider and you want to deposit those pairs of tokens into a pool, then you click on pool, you can go to new position, and you can actually select the pair of tokens that you want. So ETH, and then I don't think it's recognizing anything else in my wallet. Let's see, I've got some DAI. Let's see if it'll let me do that. Yeah, sorry it's being weird, but okay, so this is essentially saying we're going to deposit some ETH and some DAI. What fee do I want on this? So higher the fee, that just means it's more risky, whatever tokens you're putting into the pool. The lowest fees tend to be the most stable. So like if you're depositing USDC and DAI, they're both stable coins, so it's not too risky. And then you've got something in the middle. So ETH to DAI, it's like moderate risk. So that's usually a 0.3% fee. And then I don't want to get too deep into this, but Uniswap just released their version 3 or V3, which just lets you set price ranges so that you can earn fees within a certain price range of the tokens you're putting in. And it lets you set that price range. And if you go out of it, then you don't earn fees. So yeah, not too important unless you're actually considering being an LP. So I'm just going to set that real quick. And then, yeah, you can choose how much you want to deposit. I don't have enough DAI, but if I did, then I'd be able to create a position. So I know I went through that really quickly because I know we're running low on time. But yeah, that's the LP side of it. But usually if you're just a casual user, you're just going to be using swap because you want one token for another. All right, any questions on that? I know I breezed through that.
I think Jessica was saying that she's saying, well, the platform Uniswap doesn't carry tokens. They use the users to make the transactions. So they pair like buyers and sellers, essentially.
Yeah, I think their V3 is much more like an order book system, but within price ranges. I haven't read the full blog post on it. But yeah, but it's in the sense that like it's decentralized. So like Uniswap's not owning the tokens, it's the LPs that are putting them in, and then the users on top that are swapping them. So even if like I hear this example all the time, like if the Uniswap developer team were to go away, the protocol would still run because it's just smart contracts. So smart contracts are continually being called. So yeah, Jessica's right on that. All right, so I think that's it. Just got some screenshots here. That just explains. Oh, slippage is pretty cool. It's a term you might see when you're using these DApps. It's just when you put your order in to when you decide you want to swap between when the tokens actually get in your wallet. There's this concept called slippage where those two amounts won't actually be the same. And so it can, crypto is volatile. So the assets can change or the asset price can change second to second. Gas fees can change. So you can set how much slippage tolerance you're willing to have within your transaction. LP fees we touched on, pooling.
Eugene is asking about if Uniswap is used for swapping crypto, and I was thinking of any other swaps you could think of, like sushi swap.
Pancake swap, sushi swap. Pancake swap's on Binance Smart Chain, which I don't know. Binance Smart Chain is sketch. It's centralized, so I mean, whatever. I mean, there's sushi swap. I haven't used those. I haven't used sushi swap, but I think it's like the same thing as Uniswap. There's probably differences, but yeah Uniswap's so just the first one of its kind.
Yeah, they're all decentralized exchanges, basically. So
yeah, except Pancake Swap, since it runs on a centralized exchange. I don't know how. Like, I don't even know if it's an automatic market maker. It must be. I don't know, but yeah, Uniswap's just sort of the tried and true. I mean, Vitalik even said like Uniswap exists because Vitalik wanted it to happen, and Hayden Adams, the co-founder or the founder of Uniswap, like wrote the smart contracts. So Uniswap is kind of the OG, and I love it. Compound, I said we weren't going to go through Compound. TLDR, it's like Aave, but not as good. So yeah, there we go. Like the dashboard's not intuitive at all. Like you see this, there's no like lend or borrow. I was like, do I toggle collateral, and so I deposit it and then I can borrow? Like it just wasn't very clear. And maybe that's because I'm not like super experienced, I guess, in DeFi dApps, but like Uniswap, you know what to do. You put in one token, you get another one. Like it's not that hard, but yeah, Compound's just a little weird.
Yeah,
so
they're saying that we're throwing shade at them.
I'm sorry. I'm people who are building, I'm sure. Maybe it's me. I just thought Aave was better. Man, no, we like old dApps, you guys.
Should we explain why, like, the difference between like a like the advantage of like a centralized exchange versus a decentralized exchange?
Yeah, so Binance, like the fees are just a lot lower, like the gas fees, and so I think that's one of the main ones. That if you're a developer and you want to deploy a DApp, like if you do it on Ethereum, the gas fees are really high, so like that disincentivizes users from going to your platform. Like if they, if I buy a crypto kitty and the gas fees $4,000, but if I'm on like, I don't know, if I'm on Binance Smart Chain, the gas fees like $5, then it's pretty simple. I know there's Flow, there's other blockchains out there that do have lower gas fees.
Polygon Matic is good.
Yeah, I think Polkadot is that even a blockchain?
Polkadot also, yes, it is.
Yeah, so that's one of the main advantages. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of contrary to the spirit of decentralization. But it's a good onboarding ramp to get more people like into the crypto blockchain world. So in that sense, it's good. And then, you've got private versus public blockchains, and that's just like a whole other digression. So great question, though. I think that's the main thing, though.
Okay, yeah. I think that's all the questions that we have.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry I blew through this, but I'm going to be cognizant of time. Here's just a bunch of resources. This is the Brave browser Llama. I just thought it was funny. Just some resources here. I've gotten recommended this podcast with Hayden Adams, Uniswap guy, multiple times. So I'm definitely going to listen to that. I've heard it's good. Aave just has really good documentation. They have this whole like learning module called Aavenomics, which I thought was clever. And then Aave versus Compound, you can read about it on your own. Battle between those lending platforms. Understanding AMMs, if you're interested in Uniswap and how that works, I would read that. So I think those are some good resources that I used. And then I think we already went through Q&A. I think Enrique posted that in our Discord. Honestly, bless you. Like that's so funny. I appreciate all the memes. Okay, so Amelia, I don't know if you worked on the giveaway winner yet. If not, that's okay. Got a couple seconds. The giveaway winner for the NFT is drum roll.
It is Gustavo.
Woohoo! Awesome, Gustavo. If he's not, he's in our Discord, so that's okay. Congrats, Gustavo. If you just want to send your public crypto wallet address to myself or Amelia, probably to me since I have the storefront. I can send that to you. So woohoo! First NFT sold. Or transferred.
Just a heads up, there will be a new NFT drop sometime over the weekend.
I'm so excited. Amelia, I can't wait. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. I'm excited. Usually we have, so our next event isn't totally confirmed yet. I'm talking with someone who's going to go into blockchain within supply chains. That will probably be later in June, but I want to have an event in between then. So I'm probably just going to look for a guest speaker, but if anyone knows anyone within the crypto space who's doing something cool that wants to be a guest speaker on Phoenix Crypto, just let me know. Just message me on Discord. I really just want to do another guest speaker event because these technical sessions, they're fun, but oh my gosh, it takes so much effort to put it together. So let's have a conversation because I think those are equally as valuable.
Yeah, so, I was talking to two groups. One is some people on like something called the Nair blockchain, and then Nair, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then maybe these people who do like data science they're called Omni Analytics, and they do data science stuff with Numerare. I don't know if you've heard of
Omnia.
it.
That sounds super. I've heard of Omnia, but not the other one. Ooh,
Okay.
interesting. Okay.
So
Okay.
hopefully maybe one or two of them would be like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people in crypto love talking about crypto. So I think we'll totally find someone. All right, so I think with that, we're going to go to Decentraland. If anyone wants to join us, we're having like an after party with the group, and then Jessica, who's DCL tour guide on Twitter, is going to. I don't know if she's a tour plan. If not, totally fine. We're just gonna like all hang out together. So I'm actually gonna put the link to that. We're just meeting at it's called Genesis Plaza. So you first go in, and if you haven't, I didn't think about it. If you haven't used Decentraland yet, just quickly message me because I can. We put up or we wrote like a quick guide. So yeah, and so for this, just hop into our Discord and we're just going to connect to the voice channel there. And yeah, we're just going to have some fun in Decentraland. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm stop recording.